welcome to Flory Models Kit Preview Time. So today we've got Revell's new, or not so new, Osprey, and we've actually got Hesegawa's new-ish Osprey, both in 1/72 scale. I thought it'd be interesting to look at the differences, because obviously this is a rebox of the old Italeri kit, which has been around quite a few moons, versus something that's brand new tooled and up to date, as we can see with Hesegawa's version of it that we see there. So if we have a first look down here, what we've actually got, this is the Revell's one in where they're very nice boxes, as you can see. So we've got it down there. So your kit number 03964. Okay, and just have a little bit of a run around the actual thing. Okay, and we got a little bit on the back there. You can see it's nice to see this new box art where we can actually see what we're getting down in here off the bat. Okay, but there's one thing you do notice is that I don't know, it looks like it may have been rescribed. Okay, so it's technically not what you're getting out of the box, all right, but it is going to be something there. As we said, this particular kit has been, has been around for some time with various other manufacturers. But what Revell have done is given it a bit of an update, a bit of a spin, as in the packaging, decals, things like that. Okay, so this is using, if we have a look in here first, Revell's brand new, very nice instruction sheet. Okay, so we've got call out for the sprues, as you can see, not many, 2 and 3 if you go with the clear as well. Okay, and then we're just in here like this. So I'll say this will be a very quick show through rather than a detailed one, because obviously you've got both kits to go through. But the usual thing with the cockpit, the yokes, front end, inside, so it's got an interior cabin detail, as you can see down in here. Putting the glass work in, something we'll speak about in a moment for these little portholes. Okay, but certainly putting the front glass in. The rear ramp, quite basic. You can either obviously be up or down. Okay, you do have the option, as you can see it down there. Okay, and then it's going to be a case of putting all the internals inside before you bring in both halves together. Remember, you do need nose weight, saying 10 grams. I always double it up just to make sure. Okay, and then we've actually got the system for the head. Go over. Again, there is no fold option for this. Normally this thing actually rotates through 90 degrees and then will actually fold up, but we don't have that option on this kit. Obviously it was an older one anyway. The usual thing with the nacelles on the outside for the actual engines, putting all of those in, the various details. There is some slight changes between the version that is here and the production version that's out at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how Hesegawa takes up and compares. Usual thing with those going down and in. Okay, putting those in the various positions you want to do. Tailplanes being fitted on, okay, and the vertical stabilizers. The tail system goes in, the top drops in, and then in case of the gear going on. Okay, both sides, gear doors being fitted and obviously being put into place, or you can obviously have in the closed in flight, whichever way you want to do it. And then the front end, okay, a couple of aerials, lumps and bumps going on the front, the glass system being fitted to the front, the pitot tubes and sensors, refueling probe, things like that, all being fitted in, just like that. And then we've actually got the blades. As I said, there is no fold option for this, it's just going to go in the one way. Then we've actually got your markings down here at the back, so as we can see we've got these very nice one from the Black Knights, okay, in the modern scheme, as we can see it just down there, and there's the other side like that. Okay, generally the decals, which are their usual way of doing it. Oh, we do it on this camera. Okay, so as you can see, very nice, quite thin, no real problems with that. The carrier film looks a little bit flat, but obviously it'll be going over a flat aircraft, but doesn't look too bad, but say quite simple in its form. Then we've got the bag itself, which is heat sealed so tight I don't think even my knife's going to get in here to get that apart. If I can get it just down in there, just about. Okay. Okay, so only 2 sprues, and as I said, this is an older kit. All right, I'm not sure exactly on the date of it and everything else like that, but we do have. And as I say, I'm looking at the box art and I was looking at it thinking they're recessed, and on this they are raised details right the way over this one. As I said, it's not massive. We've looked at other kits as well. We've looked at Italeri's version of it in 48, which is a far bigger bird. But as I said, these are all raised details right the way over this. So you have an option. Very careful dry brushing and washes right over it and leave them in place, or you rescribe the entire thing. But generally you might be able to see on the sprue on the back, working right the way through there. Okay, it's a little bit flashy. It is what it is. It's an older kit. Okay, so you're expecting all those details. We do have some nice details down in here, up in the back bow, so that'd be quite good from looking in from the rear and everything else like that. So that looks all okay. The nacelles on there, the actual power plants, look quite nice. Again, they're not totally up to date and they're not correct. Okay, we don't have an option for opening up the actual crew door on this side. It shows it in the clear position. It's a little bit flashy, a little bit clunky. It is a high quality styrene, the crispy type, which is easier to sand and work with and everything else like that. Okay, so there we go. Then we've got the other side, and again, because we're all raised, so we've got all the riveting detail down here and lots of it. There is tons of riveting, as you can see it down in here. All of this stuff all over it. Okay, right the way through. Huge trench-like for the control surfaces being fitted on there for the actual rudder system and everything else. Generally not too bad. We've got some nice textures for the backs of the seats, things like that. The cargo floor, that looks fine as well. The actual power plant on the top, sticking those in, and the blades, again, a little bit flash around the outside, but nothing, and it's all raised detail on those as well. Okay, and that is it. So if you wanted a quick build, obviously the Revell one is the way to go. Now, details as in the cockpit. So we got the glass, which is a highlight of this kit. This glass is absolutely crystal. Beautifully done. It's very thin for its scale, or it's not even that thin, it's just beautifully done. And obviously it has got raised details for the panel lining, which is obviously a bit of a plus when you're dealing with this, because it's easier to tape up against. Generally they are absolutely fantastic. Some very nice details in there. So there you go, it is what it is. Okay, there's a couple of things to remember. One is the price. It's a lot cheaper. If you're doing something straight out of the box, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all on this one. I'm just looking at the things under here. It looks to me like somebody's rescribed it and re-riveted it on the actual instructions. I could be wrong, but it certainly looks like it down here. Some clever photographing, some clever weathering, makes it look like a more modern kit. Obviously it comes in this very nice new modern box as well, so a lot of people might be fooled that it is a modern kit, okay? But we have another option and another contender for this, and this is this guy. Okay, so this is Hesegawa's one. Came out last year. To be honest, it slipped under the radar, or I think it did for a lot of people. Personally, I got quite excited because I was hoping perhaps they'd bring out a new tool 148 version as well, because that'd be absolutely fantastic. It is the future, I think, of aviation and sort of medium lift capabilities and things like that. And I think now they're mainstream and everything else. We have them flying over here quite a bit now as well. They're a beautiful aircraft to see. Something a little bit odd about it with blades that are facing that big and fast, you know, facing forward. But certainly, I think it is definitely the future. So anyway, this will be my entry into the animal group build, being obviously an Osprey. Okay, so this is the Hesegawa version. Okay, it's the B version. So having a quick look around the box, as you say, usual bits and pieces. Your kit number for this one is 01571, okay, or E41, depending which way you do it. You can see very nice markings on this guy as well. And then right the way around the back. Okay, so looking in the box, we can see there's a couple of little nice touches I do like with it. Sorry, my box is falling over. First off is this, which we'll look at in a moment, but this is a stand for it, which is really nice. So if we just go dig in for the instructions one moment. Okay. So, our instructions, your usual pull-out Hesegawa way of doing things. Really complex, really hard to follow, but that's what they do, okay? As you can see down here, a little bit smaller, I know, but we've got a lot of more detail going in. We've got decals for the instrument panels, we've got wheel wells, things like that going down in there, bulkheads and all those things. A different way of doing it as well. The way that this actually goes in will, I think, catch a few people out, because this one doesn't have a full internals into it, okay, which is a little bit odd. I'm just seeing if it has. So one thing the other kit has got going for it, it has got full internal detail where this one doesn't. Okay, we've got forward bulkheads and things like that for it coming in, but that's all we get with it. Okay, so a little bit different on this one. Two halves going together, the windows going in from the outside, which makes things so much easier for obviously putting them in after your build. Okay, fences going up on top of the wings, and this is where the big differences come in. We've got things like vortex generators down here at the back, which go over the back of it. Obviously we didn't see that on the earlier versions. We do have movable, if I remember rightly, control surfaces down on this one as well, so you can drop the flaps on the back of the wing section. And then the tailplane's being fitted on there as well. And then we've got the ramp system that goes up in the back, and the tail fin closes off that entire cabin. So we have no option for it going down in there at all. Okay, so something a little bit to be mindful about that one. Okay, the top section does drop in, so it looks like there is no way of putting this into a folded configuration, which is a little bit of a shame because I thought you could. Okay, but never mind. The biggest difference is all things like this. So up here, as you can see, we've got all little lumps and bumps, you know, obviously antennas, satellite positioning stuff, things like that, all going on this, which obviously you didn't see on the earlier prototype version. We've got a little bit more detail with the gear down there and with the sensor pods refueling things and all those areas going down in there, as you can imagine. Usual thing with lumps, bumps and bits and pieces onto the bottom half, you can imagine. The engine, the nacelles on the outside themselves are a little bit different to what you're going to find. Okay, so definitely something to be mindful of, that this has got a better shape on the front. The cones on the top, you might notice on this one, they're quite rounded off, where they're quite flat and heavy on these. Okay, where things were changed as this progressed its way through its life. The actual blades being put on, obviously they fit right the way in, an easier way to fit. No glue because they are technically a moving part. Okay, painting those up. Crew going in, again, a nice touch that we actually get a crew going down here in 1/72. So we've got those going in, and then the front end all going in like that. The top head, overhead panels, things that we didn't see in the other kit, obviously they're all going in, the wiper blades, okay, and everything else. And then obviously the nacelle system going together, putting all those parts in. And then you've actually got a stand, so you can angle the stand to have it in some jaunty type of angle, and obviously you can have the props, if you wanted to, forward facing like this, or up in the landing configuration, or anywhere in between. Okay, just in there like that. So, as you can see, it's something a little bit different. A couple of options as well, decaling that we get on this kit we didn't get with the other. So it's the marine markings, the usual things for this one. So as you can see down there, we've got the Miramar one from 2011, or we've got the Futama one in 2012. And that is it. I'm just looking around for things. We've got nice details, it looks like, around all the different bits and pieces. The blades as well, especially detailed. Big thing is, no internal detail. The Tallery one did, and that was light years ahead. This is something a little bit nice to behold, though, as you can see. So down here we've got some very nice one-piece tails, which give it great markings. This beautiful stuff for walkways and gantries across the top, which is this grey fading. Obviously we didn't get that with the other one. Okay, and a lot more detail and depth for markings, no steps, warnings, and the usual things, as you can imagine, all over it, just like that. So, in the box, we'll look at the clear one in a moment. Unfortunately, it is in one giant bag, which is never a favourite of mine because things do get broken and bashed about and all the rest of it. So, just down in here, straight away, if we just drop down this top cam. Okay. The biggest difference is just looking at generally the shape of it. If you look at the lumps, bumps and shapes, and we'll get the other one out in a moment, you can see it's actually a different shape to the other one, and this is where the difference is between this particular kit and the other one. These are all the small little changes that were added onto the aircraft. As you can see, a one-piece type of cockpit bulkhead system and everything going down in there just like that, but generally all recessed details and the bits and pieces all around this, catching them in the light, you can see it's a lot more modern. This thing was more, it's more composite, I think, than the Tallery were giving in their day, or Revell are now. They covered it in rivets and all the rest of it. Technically this thing isn't. It's modern materials, modern styling and everything else. So if we just have a quick compare between the two, the biggest thing is, I think, if you look at the shape, sorry, dog hairs on everything. If you look at the shape between the two, you can see this is more swallow and rounded off and everything else, where you can see this guy is a lot more, it's a different shape completely. This is where things were changed on it. Okay, and then obviously looking around here on the front, how this sort of fades in and moves around and everything else. This guy's a little bit more pointy. This one sort of has a slightly different shape to it, and all those areas just like that. Sorry, hung up on sprues here. Just generally it's a little bit different. Okay, and again, when you're looking through, this one's got a another window in the middle, this guy doesn't. Okay, and going through a few of the other little details and that, the way that this one has riveting running up and across here and down, in reality it doesn't have it. Okay, this strengthening sort of plate that goes right across the top being the prototype. Okay, obviously the Hesegawa one has the more modern version where it's composite materials and things like that, and just a small strengthening bar running through there. Okay, right the way down to the gear position. Looking at the gear doors, the gear position and things like that, totally different between the two. This is the more modern version, obviously with the older version, and then just moving our way around to the rear. I know it's slightly different, but again, the entire back end of the shape down here on the Hesegawa one, you can see it's more pinched in. This one is more bulged up. Okay, so there is subtle differences between the old prototype and obviously this guy being the new one. Down on the inside, we've got no internal details really to anything, not much going in the cockpit wells. The doors, we've got no ejector pin marks and everything else, and it is in that standard, high quality, very crispy plastic. But again, beautiful lines on this thing, very, very nicely done indeed. Okay. So next, if we look at the rotor ahead, I think it'll be the best way because we can look at the subtle differences. I've just lost myself. So, on the top, biggest thing you can see down here is this giant vortex generators on the front of here to obviously give more control surfaces something to bite into. Recessed details, as you can imagine, running right the way over this one. Strengthening type panels on the sides. Very nice details on this right the way over. You catch it in the light. Okay, and this is the underside, so we've got nice details for the underside, some maintenance hatches underneath this as you're looking right the way around it. Okay, and then obviously the inside, not much going down in there at all. And then over here we've got the tail system and the top back of the ramp. Control surfaces for the drops, again some nice touches, things like that. So if we look at the differences, that's the front. Okay, and then is that the front or the back? No, that is definitely the front. So this is the front towards me here, and this is the other one. Again, just looking at the differences, as you can see, I know this one's obviously got control surfaces in, these have got to be added, but again, you don't get the vortex generators on the front, okay, that you get on obviously the more modern one. And just generally the panel lining and where it goes, and we've got strengthening up around this area. This bulge on the top, okay, isn't current to the normal version on the B, okay, that it has, which is more smoothed in, more generic right the way over it. Obviously it doesn't have the strengthening bars down the outside and all the areas like that, okay, which is a little bit of a shame on that one. And then obviously on the underside, just comparing down here, this is our underside. As you can see, it's totally different in shape to what we've got down here. You catch it in the light, there we go. We've got three large ones, yet this one over here, that is the underside. As you can see, it's different shaped ones down on there, and it's completely in different areas. Okay, so there's a few subtle differences as we make our way through. See, subtle, they're huge. And it's, don't forget, I'm not picking a fault here. This is completely something separate, purely because the you know, this is difference of kit. This thing was done years ago and all the rest of it when it was a prototype. Blades, as you can see, some extremely nice molding down on this. It shows the blade cuts through, which is something I wanted to show between the two. These are actually at an angle. They're not just flat as we would find, unfortunately, on these guys. Don't really have the correct blade cut and everything else. They do have it in there, but it's not quite as pronounced. I don't know how well the camera, you can see it on there compared to these guys. These are pretty much flat, yet by the time these get to the end, they're at like literally 45 degrees. Okay, there's something a little bit different about these guys. But as you can see, very nicely done down on these, no problem at all. Okay, and the last thing, as we've got it here, is the actual nose itself. So this is the older version, this is the Revell version, this is the more modern one. As you can see, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot heavier. If I stick it on next to it, you can see the differences. It's a thicker, shallower, heavier spinner cover on there than the actual one gets. Right, that's enough of beating up the competition. Generally down as well, this is the nacelle. The front end is a lot different on it. It's more of a organic scooped in front to actually what you find on the other one. The other one is quite a blunt looking system. The fences for the wings and all those bits and pieces. As you can see, we've got the seats, which are very small, but obviously because of its scale. Wheels, we've got no weight on wheels, but again, you know, it's that thing. Pilot's crew, missing head and arms, but obviously that makes them posable, which is really nice. And we've got a dual one of those. Okay, this is down on the inside. Again, you can see huge differences. We have got some nice raised details down here on the riveting for the tail planes. That's very nice. Obviously they're a sandwich area just like that, as you can see right the way through. And generally some of the lumps, bumps and aerials and the satellite antennas at the back here looking very, very nice indeed. Okay, so no problem with those at all. Okay, so the engine, the cells down here, this is the big difference. You can probably see that we've got bulges and lumps and various things down in here that are totally different to the other one. These are the bulges on the sides here, but if you look at the profile of them, you know, you catch it just down in here. We're looking down here, guys. You can see it there compared to the profile on these. They're totally different. Okay, so it's just a different slight shape to it. The way it all works, the paneling, the detailing is far superior all over these, as you can imagine. There's loads of detail rattling around on these. The gear, very, very plain for its scale. Nice instrument panel though, some nice details down in there. That looked great, actually painted up and done. We've got the floor system, the roof overhead box, the gear. This is for the actual nacelles, the actual mechanics of it when it turns, and everything else like that. So that is really nice indeed. Okay, so last up we've got the clear parts, which actually they'd have to go pretty good to keep up with the Atari one, especially when you think of the size. So this is all for your stand. Okay, so you've got a nice base for it down here. You obviously can paint it, and then we got clear and in texture, so you can put it into some type of jaunty angle or pose or however you want to have this thing in flight. Okay, very nice touch with these, you know, and a very nice feature to have because it would display the aircraft as it goes. Some poly caps and poly hex caps as well, which we know about. Pop that in there. And then we have the clear parts, which immediately, hopefully you can see, there's a lot more detail on this guy, and there's a lot more scuffing on it as well, and this is what you get because it's no separate bag and it's just chucked in amongst it, which is horrible. But hopefully you can see at the top there's like a unicorn lump at the top and various things that we didn't find with the other one. But I have to say, this guy is clearer. You know, there is no doubt about it. This one over here, this one on the right, is the Atari / Revell version, and it's a lot clearer than the Hesegawa version. It's cleaner, crisper, thinlier moulded, and all the rest of it. It's a lot nicer in general right the way over it. So okay, don't totally put off the other kit. So there we go. That is the Osprey day for us. I'm going to be building this particular one. I'm going to do the Hesegawa one. I don't think I'm going to do the actual Revell one. But I have to say, apart from the shortcomings of the kit, it has got some bonuses because it has got a full internal crew bay at the back, cargo bay. You don't get that with the Hesegawa option at all. There's just nothing in there. Okay, and various things. The glasswork is definitely cleaner, finer, and on something like this, you need it to be uber good, otherwise it looks horrible, and all the rest of it. So I think really, if you were doing it for an early version, like the US Air Force version, things like that, theirs was the earlier version of it, I think you could probably get away with it with a little bit of work. Rescribing, you wouldn't have to go tons with it, and all the rest of it. But if you want a bang up to date version with all the vortex generators and all the goodies, all the bits and pieces without an internal bay and all the rest of it, then definitely you want to go down the Hesegawa route. So unfortunately, my thumbs up has to go to the Hesegawa one. So join me in a couple of weeks because I'm going to be building this one as a full group build.